So, okay, this video is gonna be very, very funny. I have to say, this is gonna be an interesting video. But the amazingness of this video, which I cannot even talk about why it's so amazing, is because into some couple of seconds into imagine yourself solving a huge problem of your life. You finally got an answer, or it doesn't really matter so much about the answer. It's mostly that you finally shed light into something that you could not understand and comprehend, into just like this, bang. You cannot even describe how quick this is. The amount of time that I got to understand and think, which is less than thirds of seconds, it's happened right here. So I'm gonna give you my topic about it, and whenever you have this kind of epiphany, I want you to make a video about this because you need to remember that. And that's why I wanted to share this video because it's so important. I'm not gonna waste any more of your time. So one of my greatest issues that I faced this past years, and actually could say um, into my early 20s, right now, yesterday, become 24. And one of my greatest problems and struggles, you could say that, let's put it into the parameter of relationships, all right? Into how do you form great relationships, long lasting relationships? How do you share your trust with another person? How you have this energy that you can feel that you're worthy, but to love and share beautiful moments with a person. All these things are very beautiful, and relationships are great for this. Maybe relationships, they are even vital for humanity to continue our species on and on from a biological and natural perspective. However, into the ends of 2022, right now we are on the March of 2024 at the time that this video is recorded. I had my first breakup, which this breakup devastated me. And the problem with the breakup, it was that I didn't realize from the beginning of the point that it was start to take a complete decline. The whole situation itself, I was completely unaware, and just marvelously one day, just beep, point out, and my partner said, "You know what? I cannot do this anymore. Something needs to be done. Something needs to be changed. We need to change the relationship how it is today." I was like, wait a minute, what? This happens from zero, and I completely devastated myself. It was around the start of the November of 2022. And fast forward the till the ends of 2022, almost all 2023. I was in the army too, but it doesn't even matter. Into almost all 23, and in the start slightly of 24, still this was one of my biggest problems and my biggest sources of self-hate about why my first relationship failed and how much loser am I. And I get into all this kind of self sabotaging, into self critiquing myself, into all these issues and problems, and days that I couldn't sleep. I was into a devastating mode. And back then, before my relationship, I was into a pretty nice, very solid state of beautifulness, of love, of sharing, of understanding, and saying, oh, maybe some people, like I was giving a lot, as much as possible, as much as I could, trying to serve as much as of the Christian archetype as possible. And a lot of people, they weren't accepting it. Like they say, fuck off, screw you, in a kind of a way. They didn't say that, but I was like, okay, fine. It's their choice. One day they will realize. And then suddenly, from a high this point that I was, from a pretty good standpoint, into seconds, I was dropping myself there. And what I want to share specifically, and this is a good tip about relationships as well, which is pretty common to talk about it. And I've seen a lot of people around us how they treating themselves into these kind of broken relationships, into the relationships with their exes and etc., or their current relationships. You see the most times that even though that the two sides they kind of love each other, there is some slightly details. Have you noticed them? Some slightly spores, seeds of co- complexity behind them. You see doubt, loss of trust, loss of cooperation, even. And all these things, just they need sometimes the right indicator to start popping up. And when they pop up, things they get out of the way, things they go south. And the most times we're not even expecting them. We're not even taking notice into these details. We completely lost ourselves from this situation. So you see, with my situation and with my previous partner, um, we didn't had any major fights, but it was one specific time, and that we were, for the most part, we were on distance. We weren't together, and that was a big point as well. But I do not believe that it's so much of a problem of a distance yet to this day. Of course, it's harder, but I do not think that's the main source of it. I think this is where the place that you're coming from. And into the starts, I had full trust into this girl, full, completely trust. And the South thing happened when I lost trust to her. And that's why I've titled this video that the dangers of to not trust other people, that you're gonna regret it. And I'm gonna tell you why. So I had full trust with this girl, and one day she called me very sad, very frustrated, very shamed about what she did. And she kissed a guy into the club. Like I was like, okay, we have kind of talked and put a bit of limitations. And well, we haven't put very really limitation on that one. We have kind of talked to this that we kind of both are gonna be fine with this as long as we communicate it. And I wanted to know. I've said it to her. I wanted to know if you do something. And the first time that she did it, I was like, okay, I laughed at it. I was like, okay, that's cute. You kissed another guy. I had completely trust to myself, and I had completely trust to her that this means nothing, because after all these things we passed through, after all this connection that we have, I believed in high level connection. So okay, it's fine, no big deal. And then after 3 days, they passed on. She went out again. She did it again, and she called me. So in the first time, I didn't have any issue. But on the second time, I did. And the kind of point is that not because she did it on the second time. In the start, this is what I believed. But then afterwards, right now, today, I just went into deeper and I tried to solve my state. And this is where you should focus. Back in the day, I used to see a lot of content from a lot of people, from a lot of people. I'm seeing content from Andrew Tate. Let's say, for example, this is the most kind of common alpha male guy, to even Owen Cook, like all sorts of people. I have watching, um, consuming, even into the point of insanely consuming content. Like that is my life in a way, or that it was. Right now, not so much, hopefully, but you kind of understand. And if you relate with this, you're going to realize that how many of these kind of opinions that they give and as descriptions and as pathways, they kind of completely cross themselves and they go against one against each other. So what do you choose? And This is especially when it comes when you're in a really bad frame or something bad happens. The most times you're going to see and rationalize into the negativity itself. What am I trying to say here? Well, by having all these thoughts that they were coming up, what one of the things which I got with my perception doesn't necessarily mean that he said it, but with my perception, I got that, you know what, if she goes with other guys, a girl, if she goes with other guys, she doesn't respect you. So I was kind of thinking about that into subconsciously, and I was like, okay, wait a minute. If she done it twice, the one I said, okay, it was fun, but okay, try not to do it, right? Like you put yourself into a very shitty situation, not so much about me, but for you as well. And you put into this kind of problem, you feel ashamed, you feel nobody's gonna like this. Like spiritually, let's call it spiritually, or whatever you might try to say. If you're in a shitty state, and because I feel connected with you, I'm gonna feel in a completely shitty state. So do not try to do it. And she did it again, and she was again into the same state. So there was a problem. And as much as more this happens, this was going on. I was feeling into the shitty state as well. And I was like, wait a minute. Maybe it's not this kind of war state, the true, and maybe it's actually because she starts to lose respect on me subconsciously because she was drinking, she was intoxicated. And maybe that subconsciously was her kind of topic. So, with this kind of doubts, I started to doubt even myself and my self worth. Because imagine if someone tells you in a way that if your girl goes and do this with other guys and you do not have control because you are completely in distance, if she trusts you or she words or she has respect in you, what you will say, well, it's very logical to say that subconsciously she starts to shift towards losing the respect that it has on you. But what do you know what it was the biggest thing? The biggest thing it was that I started to lose complete hope to myself and trust to myself because I have connected my ego with this situation. I have connected my ego with her decisions. So as a result, I was starting to lose trust on myself. And then I lost trust to the other person because then I started actually to think about, oh, wait a minute. I need to stop the situation because if this goes more, she will embarrass me. And why she will embarrass you? She didn't do anything to embarrass you, practically speaking. Practically speaking, she didn't mention the name of yours into the other guys. She didn't had a huge tablet that says, hey, screw this motherfucker. I'm gonna eat everyone's dicks. No. But it feels as a threat to you. It feels as a threat and you become very territorial. So this kind of thing, becoming territorial and having this problem, it reflects to your own self-worth in the beginning. It reflects to your own inner situation. So with that being said, I completely ignored my inner situation and the main problem, the main root problem in the start. Why do you have the problem? Why do you have the problem in the first place? Completely ignore it. Completely ignore the fact that I self sabotaged myself and I self hated myself. That was the point. And then I tried to address to the point to someone else. So I completely lost trust. But before you do that, and before this happens to you or ever happened to you, which most probably did, guys, I want to tell you something. Whatever it happens to your life, whatever it happens to your life, do not lose trust to humans and to humanity. Do not. Because if you lose trust to them, you lose trust to yourself. You lose trust to the hope that you're building on. You lose trust to people that they potentially will trust you. They will lose trust to you too. And mostly, you're going to surround yourself with so much negativity. You're going to think everybody works against you. Everybody wants to sabotage you and everyone wants to screw you, which that's the most times not even far from close. Everybody's so much addicted to see themselves inside and to pity the image, the self of the ego, rather than to see someone and to actually sabotage them. This is what happens the most times. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that insane? And I had this epiphany actually some hours ago, and I wanted to share with you guys. It's how insane it is. It's not your fault if someone else screws you, or if you give them an opportunity. For example, the simplest example, a lot of people, especially my mother, she would be very annoyed if someone turned her down for a coffee, let's say, for example. She will take it personally, and she will be like, oh, this person doesn't recognize me and this person doesn't value me, which in the other side, infinite amount of things that could happen. Maybe, or for the thing of they feel very shit, to the point that they feel that something happened and they want to come, but they cannot do it. So the point is just, for this simple example, give the opportunity to someone to meet you and to have a great time. And if they deny it, it's not necessarily means that they hate you or they dislike you. That's not the point. Maybe they have infinite amount of reasons why. But the point is, always give and be open with the state of trust. Don't close the door of trust. It's like, for example, I don't know if you follow the Bible or Christianity or whatever. This is like the beloved father and the prodigal son. Everybody in our lives willing to have a beloved father, a father figure that whatever we do, right, that we mean it, obviously, to ask for forgiveness and they to forgive us, the father to forgive us. Then you become the beloved father when you're able to open yourself, your arms, and to say, come back. I know that you make a mistake, but to come back. Imagine if we as people in our lives consciously, we had this into our mind that something goes wrong and someone screw us, and we say, okay, maybe they're blind, but one day they will open their eyes and they will recognize their mistake. How life way more beautiful would be. How life, imagine how much beauty we'll have in our lives. But you choose this. And maybe it's not even true. Maybe they actually want to sabotage you. Maybe actually they want to manipulate you specifically. And maybe it's not even true what I'm saying all this kind of time. Maybe I'm saying bullshit, but I will make you a question. I'm gonna end this video. Why to believe something by stealing away trust and stealing away this mindset of forgiveness and this mindset of not having you 100%, even though that you're not with me at this moment of time, but one day you will be, what it will offer you, from the rest of your life to closing up to your space of your inner self. Because I'm going to tell you something, and this goes with judgment as well, because it's very easy to judge someone for their own situation. It's very easy to go out and to say, look, this guy is trash, this guy cannot offer, let's say, value to the people. Actually, the opposite, they try to take away value from. This is very easy to go and say to everyone, right? However, if you start to criticize someone else, you criticizing yourself, and you make it more difficult to forgive yourself when a moment of incompetence of yours happens. It's way harder. It is way harder. It is the worst thing to happen if you do a mistake. You try, whenever you do a mistake, you try everybody to ask for forgiveness and to see you in a more lighted manner, in a more lenient way. But whenever someone else does something very terrible to you, you try to hit them back. Well, you know how much problematic it is. So why you should believe this? Whatever we believe is kind of subjective. We live into our lenses that we have been built on by society or by our younger selves or about our families. Then why you do not design your own lenses, seeing yourself in a way different manner, into a manner and a light that's going to be easier for you to process life, and it's always going to uplift you. It is your own choice. It is your own choice to see your life in a great manner and to have a life of opportunity and to give to the other people the opportunity. Because trust me, if you open up to someone else the opportunity and you say, you know what, I understand that into this life your things they're not very easy, but whenever things they happen easier for you, just let me know and we can have something done. For me, and this is my final story with another girl that I'm talking right now, this is what it happens. Maybe I haven't noticed it, but we're supposed to like each other, and then a whole bunch of drama happened. And she didn't trust me at all afterwards. She was completely, maybe even consciously hated me, right? She was going against it in any way. But I tried even to the end to showcase as much trust as possible. And this happens by a huge way. This happens by huge length of time, like a year or so, like 9 months or something. And I tried listen. I know that maybe you cannot comprehend it sometimes, neither me I can comprehend it sometimes. But whenever you feel ready, let's have a nice talk, let's communicate, let's take our time, and then slowly but steady, we're gonna build something. All right? And that happened. And right now we have a pretty honest conversation when back in the day we will having accusations of someone trying to manipulate someone, but right now it's complete trust because someone's make the start to showcase trust to the other person, and it's okay for whatever to do. If it's right or wrong, I'm gonna wait, for example, and then the other person showcase your trust back because it's logical. And only if you have opened up your eyes, you can see this. Who wants to have a deceiving person in their lives? Nobody wants, right? So that is the reason. And that for me is the reason that stopping caring about others honestly and trying to block yourself because you have felt pressured and you have felt damaged and you have felt the sense of pain that someone backstabbing you, do not do it. Do not hit back. Otherwise, you will see yourself that you're going to suffer even more. That's my topic. I hope it helped you. Please tell me away if you can resonate with this or if something happened with you, and talk to you soon.